Going to digitize a campfire scene. Always relaxing. I'll trace out this full-size diagram. Using Logic Trace, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select 4 points. I'm going to click on the 4 corners of the diagram to set up my display. The next selection I'm going to make is the line command. I'm going to trace out the perimeter of the full diagram. I'm going to also use the arc command for that large circle area. The commands in Logic Trace make this pretty simple. You can see here I've switched from line to arc. And then I selected the trace command. So you can see these commands are very simple to select. Now I'll start tracing out the internal components of the diagram. And also, I save my work frequently. I always find sitting around the campfire and the lawn chairs very relaxing. So I'm going to take this diagram that I'm going to trace out, create the DXF file. I'm going to cut this on the CO2 laser, and I'm going to paint it black. Secondly, because we're tracing out and creating a DXF file, this could be a plasma format also. We could cut this on plasma or CNC machine. Once we have this file, this DXF file, any machine can work with it. Again, you can see there I use the red pencil to mark off where I start my tracing. It also keeps track of what's been traced. The other thing I always mention is the size of the diagram. I like to trace fairly large diagram. This is about 18 by 18 inch diagram, so the small parts are easily traced. As I'm tracing along here, it's a good spot to talk about Logic Trace. There are options and setup buttons to configure the program to suit the user. So in my case, I've set up my line width at 0.5 and I've set it as black, so it ends up looking like a thread, a black thread. A good point to note here that when you save your work, create your file, the program saves a second copy, which I call the working copy, and it's in a format of TLG. What makes this handy, this second copy, is that if you want to take a break from your tracing, say pick it up the next day, you just reload that copy and you carry on tracing right from where you left off. And that reloading is under Options. I find Logic Trace easy to use and it's fast. And it has the ability to be saved in different formats like DXF, PolyDXF, SVG, or PDF. I use DXF for my machines. One unique feature of the program is the ability to extend the control window, that's the left-hand side window, to another device like a cell phone or an iPad. This makes it really neat because you can have those controls right beside you. While you're tracing, you can make these selections. Now that all the large parts are traced out, I'm getting at all the small parts. There's a lot of them. And again, you can see why I use that red pencil, because it keeps track of what's been traced. It's easy to forget what you've done. It's surprising how quick something like this can be traced out. Again, it's a large diagram. That helps a lot. Now I'm just going to trace out that frame around the whole picture. So the tracing is now complete, so I'm going to save my final DXF file, and I'm going to load that file directly into the CO2 laser software. Shown here is the CO2 laser simulator, so it looks like it's going to take about 14 to 15 minutes. I've started the cut. I'm cutting an 1/8 inch brown hardboard, which I call masonite. You can see here it's a smooth cut. Using that 28 psi of air, that's what really helps that cut to be clean. You also notice that I use magnets to keep down the corners of that hardboard. Sometimes that hardboard will spring up on one corner, so that's why I use these hold downs. And I also use a piece of that masonite on the corner, so in case the laser hits that, it's not going to hit that magnet. If it's a good cut, you should be able to lift that right off and leave the parts on the table. This will be the final cut where I cut the whole image right out of